Are you ready to explore Las Cruces? I'm Cheryl Falstead.
And I'm Bud Russo, and we'll be your guides. So if you're ready for an unexpected delight,
let's go wine tasting. When you think wine, you may first think of California. And while California has a long history of winemaking, the first wines in North America were actually made by the Spanish right here in New Mexico.
the Spanish brought grapevines with them to the New World. But don't let me tell you. Listen to what Gordon Steele, owner of the Rio Grande Winery, has to say.
When you hear American history, they always talk about Jamestown and Plymouth Rock in 1640. Well, New Mexico was full of Europeans before that time. Along with that, in California, they have the 13 beautiful missions. But here in New Mexico, we have 18 missions from the 1500s. Most of them you can't see, but some of them you can. And they're called the saline monuments. And the next 200 years, we have another 200 missions. And with those missions came Sacramento wine, and so we had a thriving vineyard business for many, many years. New Mexico had wines 140 years before California.
Travelers will find wineries across the length and breadth of New Mexico. In the heart of the Mesilla Valley, there are 2 wineries and several tasting rooms, each with its own unique style, each with its own unique selection.
We're going to tell you about the wineries and the tasting rooms along Highway 28 from Mesilla south to La Union, so you can visit your favorite and create your own comparative tasting experience.
Let's begin at the St. Clair Bistro on Avenida de Mesilla, just south of Interstate 10, which is both a tasting room and a restaurant, offering a menu of delicious French country dishes.
St. Clair is based in Deming and is owned by the Lescombe family. Master winemaker Hervé Lescombe was born in Algeria, where his family had made wine for several generations. He found the desert between Deming and Lordsburg ideal for growing grapes, just as his family had in the Sahara and just as the Spanish had here 4 centuries earlier.
In the tasting room, your first decision will be whether to try 2 free tastes or a flight of wines, 6 tastes for $6.
St. Clair Winery has several labels, each with a different style. Their blue teal wines are made in the European style, and the St. Clair label has more Americanized wines that are usually sweeter. Their premium wines under the D.H. Lescombe label are crafted in a drier, full-bodied style.
St. Clair is the largest winery in southern New Mexico, with a capacity of 500,000 gallons.
Just across from St. Clair Bistro on Calle de Mercado is the tasting room of Luna Rosa, Deming's other major winery.
Luna Rosa was founded in 2001 by Paolo and Silvia DeAndre. Paolo is a 4th-generation winemaker from his northern Italian family. An expert viticulturist, he came to Deming to teach local laborers how to prune and graft vine plants, but soon ventured into making his own Italian-style wines.
We met with Jose Tarango, manager of the Luna Rosa tasting room here in Mesilla. We asked him to compare his wines with others found in the valley.
Our wines tend to be a little drier than most in the area. Whether we do a Cabernet Merlot, Sangiovese, it's always drier than the others. So
Luna Rosa has 24 varietal wines, and visitors are welcome to sample any of them. And when they do, they're usually surprised. Jose tells us why.
The biggest reaction we get from people when they come here is that we don't charge for sampling. And they say it's kind of unheard of.
But that's not the only surprise.
You get a lot of people out of California and they come in here and the first thing, they're surprised that New Mexico even has wines. We get a lot of people there. They were a little reluctant to try some of New Mexico wines. However, once they try our wines, the response, it's unbelievable.
While you're in Mesilla, stop by Vintage Wines on Calle de Principal, which offers wine tasting, tapas, cigars, and Wi-Fi. Choose from 50 wines by the glass or bottle, with daily wine tastings representing wineries from across the state, including Black Range Winery near Hillsboro. For a fun evening, come by Friday or Saturday when they often have live music performed on the patio.
A few miles south of Mesilla brings us to the Rio Grande Winery. The vineyards stretch along Highway 28, and the Oregon Mountains form a dramatic backdrop.
Here we caught up with Gordon Steele, who had been pruning grapevines in his vineyard. His family has farmed in the Mesilla Valley and made wine since the early 1800s. The winery is the newest in the valley, and we asked Gordon why he decided to make wines.
Ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to have a winery. And so I just worked on it, and most of my life trying to figure out how to do it. And finally, 30, 40 years later, here it is.
Rio Grande's wines are made in a Spanish style. They are mostly varietals, with 100% of locally grown grapes used for the wine. Gordon makes his wines robust and full-flavored, true to the characteristic of the varietals from which they are made.
Rio Grande charges $5 for sampling its wines, but if the visitor buys a bottle, the sampling fee is waived. Sampling is the best way to find out what you like, as Gordon explains.
I try to find out each individual's palate and what they care about and what they like. And I do that by a series of questions. The questions that I ask and the wines that I serve, I want honesty, and I ask for honesty, because I would rather them tell me that they don't like something so that I can take them to where they would like something. So sooner or later, I can guide them and direct them into something that they like if people are honest with me.
Back in your car, head 25 miles south of Mesilla to the village of La Union, home of La Viña Winery. We met with Ken Stark, who told us a bit of the winery's history.
La Viña is the oldest established winery in New Mexico. It was started in 1977, operated by a professor at UTEP. It was bought by a doctor in El Paso, and my wife Denise and I bought it in 1993. So we've operated it for about 17 years.
While the other wineries feature wines made in French, Italian, and Spanish styles, La Viña approaches winemaking a bit differently.
We have always historically tried to make our red wines a little bit softer and a little bit older, a little more age in barrel, a little more age in bottle at release than a lot of wineries in New Mexico. That came from my taste in wine, the kind of wines that I like. So we have 21 varieties in the vineyard. So we have a lot of grapes that come from the southern Rhone area. We have a lot of grapes that come from Italy. And those are warmer growing areas from Europe. If the grapes are good and they grow well here, they should make good wine.
Now, if you've got your calendar out, and if your visit to Las Cruces corresponds with one of the wine festival dates, you can taste wines from all of these wineries, plus others from locations around the state.
Over the third weekend in April, La Viña holds its Jazz and Blues Festival. For the $10 admission, you get to listen to hot music while you sample 6 cool wines with your souvenir glass. The festival features about 60 arts and crafts, fine art, and food vendors from noon until 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday.
Over Memorial Day weekend at the end of May, you can visit the Southern New Mexico Wine Festival just west of Las Cruces at the fairgrounds. Not only can you sample wines from around the state using your souvenir glass, but you'll also find gifts, crafts, and food, as well as activities to entertain the children. And over Labor Day weekend, the festival takes on a harvest look. But the wine, food, and crafts are much the same, just in case you missed the May Festival.
The last festival of the year is the Grape Stomp in October during La Viña's Harvest Fiesta. So come and join us on the wine trail through the Mesilla Valley,
where you're sure to discover a New Mexico wine that suits you to a T. This podcast was brought to you by the Las Cruces Convention and Visitors Bureau and produced by Explore New Mexico.